Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. Well, they say sportsmanship is dead, but Steven Adams faked a shot and Mason Plumlee went over him, and Adams could have gone up for a dunk or a layup, but instead he caught Plumlee instead of letting him crash to earth. And if you fall off Steven Adams, you have a long way to fall down. So Adams is the Oklahoma City center. Brian Scalabrine was talking about him. He said Adams had an apple in his hand. He took the apple and he broke it in half. So he said, "Do you want half?" And Scalabrine says, "If anybody can break an apple in half and offers you half, you better take it."
I mean, he's a hard-nosed player. He's one of the toughest players in the league.
Yeah, I think he's like one of 19 children or some crazy number. I think he might be the youngest of however many children. And his skills have improved a lot over time, and his toughness is right up there.
Yeah.
Can't say much about that. Last week there was a minor controversy on the Celtics. Danny Ainge is on sports talk show in the morning, I think on Thursdays, and he said he doesn't really like Robert Williams' nickname, which is Time Lord, which, if you think about it, is really a credible nickname, because they say he crosses over all areas of time. And it's really making fun of him because he was late for his initial interviews in his first practice.
Yeah, that's what everybody's taking it as, waking up late and all that. But Timex is looking to give him some money for sponsorship.
Right, so if they're going to throw money at you, maybe the nickname's not such a bad thing.
He wants to keep it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he certainly didn't stop Anthony Davis, but he had several blocks against him. And the kid can jump out of the gym. I mean, his head is up at the rim.
You talk about talent-wise. I mean, look at his talent. I mean, you think of him in a couple of years if he really works at his game, puts a little offense into it, gets the ball like 10, 12 feet away, and make those moves, pull up in the lane, or finish strong, go to the foul line a lot. But there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, I mean, the other night, I can't remember which game it was, he had 5 blocks in not very many minutes, and pretty much you want people to come in and try to shoot over him because you're not going to get it over him. He's really got great timing.
He's averaging about, if you go with 38 minutes in a game, he's averaging 7-point-something blocks.
He's fun to watch, and he understands that his role right now is to come in and set screens and once in a while roll to the basket. And Brad Stevens made the point is that if you're an elite roller, other players are going to help off their player to try to stop you from getting dunks, and that opens up penetrate and kick 3-point shots. So he's going to have a career in the NBA. Nobody knows what the ceiling is, but it's going to be more than nothing.
I think you'll see him as the starting center when Horford goes.
It could be.
Horford has one more year after this. They're talking about giving Horford, his last year. He can play out his option, right?
Right.
Plays out his option, and then they sign him to a contract maybe about $12 million, $13 million a year for 4 years. And then, you have Williams there too. But what a difference with Williams out there compared to even Baines. Baines, you need him against the big, strong guys. But it's great seeing Williams out there with his defense.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. Now, we enjoy watching the young players develop. And we'll get to the Celtics a little bit later. I'm reading an interesting book now called Thinking in Bets by a woman named Annie Duke, who is a former world championship poker player. And she talks about understanding the difference between skill and luck. And, for example, she'll say if she knows that the odds of her winning a given hand are 76%, and conversely, the odds of her losing a hand is 24%. So you shouldn't be surprised if you lose a hand, even because there's still a 1 in 4 chance that you won't win it. And people have looked at the variance of results and talent in the different sports, and certain sports like hockey have much more varied outcome game to game, regardless of the talent. So it's not very surprising. However, in the sport that's least likely of the major professional sports to see upsets is basketball.
Well, it's very simple. When you think about it, hockey and basketball, there's way more points in basketball,
right?
And there's less points in hockey.
Right, so there's far more scoring opportunities, and when the more scoring opportunities you have, the truer result you're going to get. So, for example, if you have 5 dimes and you decide to flip them, if you flip them 10 times, you could get all 10 being a dime. However, if you flip them 10,000 times, it's going to be pretty much 50-50.
Yeah.
So sample size is really important in determining outcome, which brings us to the Celtics' recent winning streak. The Celtics won 8 games in a row, and the winning percentage of the 8 losers was 35%. So the Celtics cleaned up against bad teams, which you have to do that, but it's not any great statement. Now we have to wonder about whether, after the last 2 weeks with the Patriots, are we getting close to the end of an era?
Well, if they stop making these stupid mistakes, I mean, you look at their record, I mean, like Parcells says, you are what you are, but they actually should be right now, only have 3 losses, not 5 losses.
Well, we'll get to the Patriots in more detail, but the number of penalties they had, Brady with a terrible interception. Even then, Gronkowski, all he had to do was grab the guy and throw him out of bounds instead of letting him land.
Yeah.
But of course, he's not a defensive player, so that's probably not his mindset.
Well, in that case there, Brady was trying to throw the ball away. He was under pressure. But a penalty again put him in that position. Penalties all night. I mean, look at, they're saying the offense, they only scored 10 points. Edelman dropped a huge pass. They're up 7, they score a touchdown, they get the ball back. They're driving again. Edelman drops the ball at the 40-yard line of Pittsburgh on first down pass. Okay, they had 2 other downs, but it would have been 2nd and 1. Edelman at 50-yard line drops a pass later in the first half.
To me, Edelman is very much what Wes Welker was toward the end of his Patriots career. He's taken so many hits that I think that his ability to, whether it's concentration or fine motor skills, is just starting to decline. And I don't think there's a way to calculate it, but obviously you're not imagining that he has a lot of drops. He just has a lot of drops.
And then Gordon drops a pass, big pass near the 50-yard line. All the penalties they got. I mean, and they're knocking Brady. Brady was throwing the ball pretty good, Nick. The last 2 games, he's throwing the ball well. The rest of the team is killing him.
Well, if you look at the 2 teams yesterday, Pittsburgh is first, and they explain this in the NFL, in red zone touchdowns. They're scoring touchdowns in almost 76% of their chances. And the Patriots are in the middle of the pack at 16, at around 58, I think. So they don't capitalize. Gronk isn't the same weapon that he used to be. He had a great catch where he dragged the guy with him for a first down, but you don't see that very often anymore. He doesn't have the same explosiveness and strength. I don't think it has anything to do with the training program. I think he's just not healthy enough.
Yeah, and you have McDaniels. His play calling this year has been terrible. You know, I've been on him for a while now. I haven't liked him. I never liked him as a play caller, McDaniels. You know, he's making all his money because of Brady. I told you, Weiss made all his money because of Brady. You know, O'Brien got that job in Houston because of Brady. It's all because of Brady. Belichick's making $12 million a year, whatever he's making, because of Brady. Kraft, the Patriots now worth $3 billion because of Brady. They'd be worth half that if they didn't have Brady as their quarterback the last 16 years, whatever.
I was looking up salary cap information today, and Brady's cap number is $27 million this year. So even though his salary isn't so high, he's still taking up a pretty large chunk, especially when you consider that his performance is, you know, borderline top 10 quarterback. But, you know, overall the offense has been really inconsistent. I agree that McDaniels' play calling, you know, he calls running plays way too often, in my opinion.
But, you know, the game against Miami, they should have scored 40-something points. If his play calling, they were constantly 2nd and 9 because he kept trying to run. Well, you can't run. And then he never goes play. He went play action. I was watching a game yesterday with a bunch of people, and I'm saying he never does play action on key, like 2nd and short. He always runs. So it's 2nd and 3. They run the ball. And now it's 3rd and 2. You got 1 shot of getting a first down. It's going to be But if you go play action on 2nd and 3, the linebackers are biting on the play action. You got the middle wide open. So there was one play. I said, watch this. If he goes play action here, Gronk's going to be wide open down the middle. And they're all looking at me. He goes play action. on 2nd and 4. Gronk's wide open down the middle for like a 17-yard gain.
Well, Hogan's reception was
Yeah.
play action, and that was the most open that you can physically be on a football
But
field.
then against Miami, when he tries to run, when they played Minnesota, I'm at the game, they get 2nd and 1, he tries an end around. They get thrown for a loss. And there was so many calls. But you know what's getting me about Brady? You know what happens when a quarterback starts to lose it? Sometimes it's not their arm. Brady's throwing the ball better than he's ever thrown it.
Well, he'll be in the pocket, and he's back, and he starts flinching and ducking for the imaginary rush.
And I'm screaming when they had, on the last possession, when they had the ball, when they got called, there was a penalty, right? And then he throws that ball that bounced in front of Gronk.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second down play, he's throwing the end zone. I'm saying, why are you throwing in the end zone? I said, the first down's at the 6-yard mark. They're going to think you're throwing in the end zone. Go hard to the end zone, turn around, but the ball should be in the air before he turns around. Because all the Pittsburgh players, if you saw the 3rd and 4th down play, they're all backing up the Pittsburgh players into the end zone. Edelman and Gronk's going deep. White is wide open on the left.
On the third down, yeah.
If Brady threw the ball to White, he would have got at least the first down and maybe in the end zone. He would definitely get the first down. Then on 4th down, if you watch it again, Edelman and Gronk are running. Edelman's running just off to the left. The whole Pittsburgh defense is back in the end zone in the goal line. All he had to do was turn around again, catch the pass, then there would have been about 12 seconds left. Run up there, kill the ball. There would have been 3 seconds left, but you would have had a short pass for the tie and score. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking about sometimes, but know what it is? I think there's a total collapse in the team. But it's all mental. It's more mental than anything.
Well, one problem is the whole salary cap issues right now. They have too many players that are occupying large amounts of money and aren't really getting much done. McCourty's $13 million, Gronk is 12, Hightower's 10, Dwayne Allen is 7, Claiborne is 6. I mean, you never hear his name. And they have $10 million in dead money. So there's $58 million, almost a third of the salary cap that they're getting very little from.
But, then they hold Pittsburgh to 17 points, and their run defense was the worst I've seen in years. Their linebackers they fill in the wrong gaps constantly. Can they ever make a tackle?
Well, we're used to seeing a team that can compete for a championship, and when the third string running back has 7 carries for 70 yards, you say, how can this be? I mean, I don't really understand.
The linebackers are just horrible, Ron. Every one of them, they're horrible linebackers. I mean, and then the linemen, do they ever make a tackle? Have you seen a lineman make a tackle? Guy finally made a tackle, like in the end of the second quarter. But where are the linemen? Every time you see a good running play, the linebackers are coming up and wrong gap.
Well, I wanted to say that the officials were taking advantage of the Patriots, but every time they showed a hold, the guy was holding. So what are you going to do? I mean, I get it that people hold and they don't get called, and the Patriots are doing.
Disgusting.
And the number of false starts, would they have 5 false starts yesterday? I mean, I get it. The stadium's noisy. There's pressure.
But talent-wise, right? Just talk about the offense, because the defensive backs played pretty good, except for Jason McCourty. He didn't have a good game. But Gilmore, what a pickup he was, I'll tell you. Gilmore is one of the top cornerbacks in football right now. But
J.C. Jackson's a good player.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jackson's going to be good.
The one play that he gave up, the guy caught a really terrific play.
He's not a big hitter, though. Gilmore's a better tackler than he is. He's got to get tougher, but he's good defending. He's got that Samuel feel
he's got good ball skills.
And he gets right up on the guy. If he gets beat, he gets beat. He comes right back. But he's usually right on you.
Well, he got his arm in there in the end zone and was able to rip the ball out to take away the touchdown the guy was going to score.
But, yeah, that was a great play. But you look at the offense, Ron, a lot of it's mental. If they stop making those stupid mistakes, they're moving the ball. If they would have scored at least 28 points if it wasn't for the penalties and the drop passes. So if the offense played a real good game, by catching every pass and not, getting called for holding illegal procedures.
Well, it's like watching a baseball game and see they don't turn the double play because they're a little bit slow, or they walk a guy in a key situation, guy makes an error. Just little things, they add up cumulatively in a big way.
But they haven't peaked yet. That's the key. They could still peak and be really dangerous in the playoffs. Play Buffalo and play the Jets, play 2 solid games there. They still could get a bye, if Houston loses to Philadelphia this week and the Pats win 2. They get a bye.
Really? That seems pretty shocking.
No, if they win their next 2 games and go 11-5,
okay,
and Houston loses one of the next 2, Houston's playing at Philly. So how did Philly do?
Philadelphia won yesterday with Foles.
So it's a big game for Philly.
Yeah.
And Philly will beat Houston next week.
Well, Philly's 7-7, and they play a lot better with Foles as quarterback than Wentz right now.
If he plays like he did against the Patriots. But now if they beat, again, if the Pats win the next 2 and Philly beats Houston, they'll get a bye.
Okay.
And who knows? Because even though the Chargers and Kansas City going to have better records, if one of them is going to be the 5th seed,
right,
because they're in the same league. So if the number 1 team, the number 1 seed gets knocked off, Pats will have a bye all the way through. If that happens, if the Patriots win the next 2, the if side, they should win the next 2, and Philly should beat Houston. I would put Philly a 7-point favorite at home against Houston. Houston was lucky to beat the Jets the other day.
You think it'll be that high?
Yeah, it will be, because Houston has won a lot of close games.
I was thinking it would be 4 or 5, but Houston's got talent. I don't know what their injury situation is right now.
Did you see the Jet game?
No.
Game, they dominated them, but the Jets dropped passes all over the field. The Jets should have won that game.
Well, the Jets are...
That's my pick of the year. Philadelphia will definitely be Houston. The Pats are going to be the number 2 seed. In between the Chargers and Kansas City, who's ever the number 1 seed is going to get knocked off. The Pats are going to have home field advantage straight through.
Well, we're always afflicted with recency.
Because they haven't peaked yet.
We're always afflicted with recency bias, as in, what have you done for me lately?
I can see it.
So, I mean, longer term, the Pats, you have to wonder if the culture is becoming dysfunctional. How's the relationship between Brady and Belichick? I have no idea.
I just think when the time comes, Brady's throwing the ball well. The rest of the team's got to play good behind them, run. You got 3 big drops in that game that they were on drives, and you had 4 holding penalties that knocked them back after gaining good yardage.
And it wasn't just one guy. It was across the board. They're, committing penalties.
I'm upset that Brady didn't know enough. Like a lot of fans, I talked to one other person. Well, one of my son's friends texted him and says, "Can't believe he didn't go for the first down where the whole Pittsburgh team was dropping in the end zone. They could have got the first down and down the ball." And then when I saw the replay of White. I didn't pick it up at first. White was wide open on the left flat.
Oh, yeah.
That's Brady. Brady should have saw that. Should have, I think he's just. That's basically the first thing to go. You get a little more nervous.
The demise of Drew Bledsoe wasn't that he lost his arm. His decision making wasn't good. So the key points for whether you're a point guard or a quarterback are decision making and accuracy. So,
but Ron, if the rest of the team plays really good behind them, they're going to be very successful. It's going to be the end. Receivers got to catch the ball. The offensive line has to do their job. And we'll be in another Super Bowl.
Well, you just have to wonder if they have enough stuffing to execute. We'll see. That's why they play the games. We'll be right back. Major League Baseball may need to rename the off-season Hot Stove League to something else, because so far it's been anything but hot. The major free agents out there, Manny Machado and Harper, are still available, and all this talk about Real Muto being moved from Miami to somewhere else hasn't materialized. The Yankees were supposedly going after Syndergaard in the deal with the Mets in Miami, but that hasn't happened. And there's just a whole lot of talk and nothing happening.
Yeah, the Yankees got Paxton a couple of weeks ago, but the Red Sox, they lost Kelly.
Right. I think the Yankees' rotation is pretty good. I mean, don't sleep on Severino. He was really good. He got a little tired toward the end of the season. They have Paxton, who quality left-hander if he can stay healthy. They re-signed Happ, who's still a good pitcher. And they have Tanaka, again, a little bit injury-prone, and Sabathia is like 1,000 years old now, but he still knows how to pitch. So he had a pretty decent year last year. I never understand the whole thing about, people shouldn't bunt on him because he's crippled. It's like, what are you talking about?
The guy that I like is it Jermaine? You pronounce it, I think you pronounce it Jermaine. Real good talent, throws the ball about 98, good curveball, needed another year, looked pretty good, but at times, probably pitched like Severino did his first year, but I think he could be just like Severino, so if he comes along, I mean, they got a good starting line, pitching staff now, they got a good bullpen.
And the Red Sox are pretty much going with the exception of the closer, a stand pat approach, and that they've got and the rotation. Sale, I don't think Sale's going to be able to throw 150 innings. I just don't think he's healthy enough. Price, Porcello, they were talking about moving him to try to dump salary. I don't know about that. Rodriguez and Evaldi. They paid pretty big money for Evaldi, and we'll see how it works out. Usually when you pay big money for pitchers, it doesn't work out.
You got to say they could be the best starting pitching staff in baseball, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Rodriguez is a lot better than people think he is.
Oh, if he stays healthy and his head stays on straight.
Right. I mean,
he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah, he's got 3 solid pitches, throws hard, knows how to pitch, ball moves, and pretty much when he can throw the ball over the plate, he's been very effective. So
I mean, just look at this. Look at the pitching staff. If Seale's your number 1 pitcher, he's one of the top 3 number 1s in baseball. If Price is your number 2 pitcher, he's got to be one of the top 3 pitchers in baseball as number 2. And then you go right down the line. From 1 through 5, they have the top 3. One of the top 3 pitchers.
Well, mostly I stopped listening to sports radio because I can't deal with it anymore. No matter what they do, it's always bad. You wouldn't even know that the Red Sox won the World Series last year from the way these guys talk.
Well, I don't listen to talk radio when the Patriots lose or when the Celtics lose. So forget about it. I stay away from it for a couple of days.
Yeah, I know. They're all big Bruins fans, which the Bruins fans are really loyal, and the Bruins have been coping with a lot of injuries, but they haven't won anything for quite a while, and they've got lots of injuries. But anyway, the Red Sox did sign Pierce. Now, you can make the argument that Price was the World Series MVP and not Pierce, but, individual honors, how much should you care? Pierce got paid, Price got redemption, so both of them have to feel pretty happy. Local hero Joe Kelly went back to California, where he's from, and 3 years, $25 million for a guy who's been statistically average throughout his career. Nothing wrong with that.
They better watch out, though. They better get a closer. They could be in trouble. I mean, you go into these games and, they got a real good...
Yeah, Barnes has never shown the mentality to close, so I don't think you can trust him in that spot. And, there's a lot of guys out there. Britton is out there. Ottavino is out there. So
They'll sign
see.
someone. They have to.
Miller, who's been kind of not healthy, he's good. Now Cleveland's totally demolishing their team. I don't understand what that's about.
Yeah, they're letting it. I mean, they're upset about last year again. They got swept, right, in that series against Houston.
Well, the Red Sox are raising ticket prices. There's a shock for you. And I looked up what the average cost for a family of 4 to attend a Major League Baseball game was last year. And who do you think was the Red Sox were second at $346 a game.
Was it the Dodgers?
I was surprised. It was Chicago Cubs. It's $368 a game, and the Yankees were third at $302 per game. So, it's pretty expensive to take your family to a ball game these days.
How's Epstein doing out there?
Well, there's a lot of talk that he wants to get rid of Madden, which I don't know what. Usually it's driven by the players. I don't know what the story is.
Well, Madden's very cocky. He probably doesn't listen to Epstein, but he knows the game really well. I've never liked Madden. I've never liked Epstein either. I thought when he left the Red Sox, he was he wasn't doing a good job the last 2 years with the Red Sox.
Well, I think that baseball tends to breed these hard-nosed or hard-headed types who it's only, I know it better than you do, everybody else is an idiot. The kind of Showalter, Jim Leland, Farrell, if you look through baseball, these guys are a dime a dozen, fossils that, grew up in another era. And with the contemporary players, you could say they need coddling, but I'm not sure it's coddling. They need their confidence reinforced. If you play baseball and you go out there and you strike out 3 times, Mookie Betts does that. Everybody does that. So you just have to say, had a bad game. Get him tomorrow.
Well, they did a good job by getting Cora. But imagine he only got $800,000 this year.
Yeah, he must have got. Well, he picked up $450 for the World Series. So that's.
But do the managers get that, or does the owner have to pay them that?
Oh, it's all shares. So it's how many shares?
Yeah, but I don't think the managers are involved.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that.
I think it's just the players. I think the managers get bonuses from. I think so.
I don't know. I thought everybody got a full share. So I know the Red Sox were pretty generous, they said, in awarding front office shares. And I was talking to somebody who they worked in the front office. They took all the front office people from Boston and took them to Game 4 in L.A. And when they won that game, they kept them for an extra day so they could be there when they won.
Wow.
Which was, it's easy to say, well, these guys have tons of money, but they still did it.
Yeah, they were generous, and even the last time they won, they were one. I think they were the third most generous team.
Well, one thing that is argued is the Red Sox won't be as good next year because there's no way that Betts and Martinez and Bogarts are going to be as productive. But when you look at it, the catchers did nothing offensively.
Right.
The second basemen were among the worst in the league. Devers presumably will be a little more. I think he'll be productive, and Benintendi the second half for the last third of the year kind of tailed off. So, you wonder if you get more production from those guys, whether it'll help compensate for a likely more, I won't say fall off, but more normal season for a guy like Betts, who was phenomenal.
Yeah, they'll win more. I think they'll win around the high 90s, low hundreds next year. Just because of the starting pitching, and they have 2 of the best hitters in the American League. When you look at it, really 4 of the top 20 hitters in the American League. When you talk about Betts, Benintendi, Martinez, and Bogarts.
Yeah, you wonder, was last year a fluke for Bogarts? I think he's 26, so, on average, people tend to peak around 27, 28. So maybe he's just coming into his own.
Did you hear the rumors that they may trade him?
Yeah.
Is it because he's going to be a free agent?
I think so, but the problem is other teams know that, so that you're not going to get value because they say it's to rent a player.
Right, unless they want to give him the money when they do it.
Right. Now, I was doing a little research on Dustin Pedroia and knee surgery, and there's 4 general types of knee surgery for severely damaged cartilage. One is microfracture, where they make little fractures in the bone, allows circulation to come in and new cartilage. They don't do that as much anymore. The second is little plugs of cartilage that they put in. I don't think that's so popular. Third is they remove some of your own cartilage, grow it into a cartilage replacement patch, and then put that in. And finally, there's what's called an allograft, which is a cadaver, a dead person's cartilage, ideally relatively fresh versus frozen, and they cut out the defect in the recipient and take the graft and place it over that. Now, there's not a ton of data. Like a big study I saw was they had, I think, 13 players, mostly basketball players, some college, some professional, and somewhere between 75 and 80% of the players were able to return to their former level of play.
Are they doing that with him?
Well, that's what he had. He and Wright.
Oh, he had it then.
Yeah, this surgeon in New York, Riley Williams, the third, did that. Now,
When did he do it?
oh, this was the original big surgery that he had last year. And there's a really long recovery period. The average length of time from the time of surgery to recovery was, I think, 16 months, but it went as long as 2 years. So I'm not going to count Pedroia out because he's very, dogged as far as his pursuit of rehabilitation. I just don't know if it's going to work. I mean, it's like we got back to the whole poker analogy. If you have a 1 in 4 chance of something not working, it may not work.
Yeah, but if that's the case, why did he try to come back last year if he knew that it was going to be at least?
Well, that might have been a bad decision to try to come back too soon.
Yeah, that's good
So-
though. I mean, if he heals properly, then he might be able to come back.
Yeah, I had a patient who had the surgery done, and he showed me the picture of the plugs that they put in. They took out of his original knee cartilage, meniscus, and it hasn't really worked out so far to his satisfaction as far as full recovery. I mean, you don't have these surgeries so you can walk around. You're doing it because especially if you're a professional athlete, because your expectation is you're going to return to your previous level of function, and nobody can say Pedroia is anywhere close to that, or Stephen Wright. We talked a bit about the closer job for the Red Sox, and Kimbrough, apparently we're hearing, is asking 6 years and $100 million, and apparently there's not a lot of takers at that right now, which it's a lot of money and it's a lot of years.
16 million. Oh, remember what's his name asked for the Red Sox years ago? He was asking for 13, and he got it. To close, I even forget his name now.
Oh, Papelbon?
Papelbon. Remember he wanted 13, 14 million? I think he ended up getting it with another team.
Well, sometimes what happens is if you don't get the money, if you don't take the money at the beginning, the money dries up. And I always think about Jody Reed, who the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox offered him $10 million for 3 years, and this was quite a long time ago, and he turned it down, and he ended up, I think he signed with Milwaukee for $450 or something.
How about Garcia Parra? After
Yeah.
Jeter got his contract, he wanted the same. Red Sox offered him $15 million a year.
4 years,
Yeah.
yeah. So, sometimes we'll never know about getting offered big money and big contracts. And think about Ricky Henderson. He had a deal years ago with Oakland for 4 years and $12 million, and he wanted to renegotiate his contract. And Oakland said, "Okay, we'll make it 2 years for $6 million." And he said, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about?" And since all the baseball money is guaranteed, the players want it both ways. I don't blame them for wanting it, but I never blame the teams for not wanting to pay it either.
I wonder what the football players must think. All the money, they're banging heads, and all the money these basketball and baseball players are making. Just average players in basketball making $10 million a year.
Yeah. Well,
And Edelman last year, what did he make, 2 point something? Same thing with Amendola, 2 point something.
Yeah. Well, and baseball players. Who was it? Lance Lynn that the Yankees had. He's okay. He gets 10 wins a year, and he's making $10 million for 10 wins. That's not that great. I mean, it's great money, but 10 wins a year, that'd barely keep you in the league.
Oh, how many pitchers are making big money that have between 10 and 15 wins?
Right.
It's unbelievable what they pay. That's why I would never give Harper. I wouldn't give Harper what he's looking for. I wouldn't give any of those top players. Like I said before, the only player I would give the money to is Betts.
Well, the issue with Machado, I don't know if the guy's mentally.
He's a head case.
Yeah. Obviously.
Any team that gives him the money, they're crazy.
I'm not Johnny Hustle, and I'm not going to make a judgment on his postseason ability based on limited size. But this business with these stepping on guys' legs and stuff like that, something wrong with the guy.
But even Harper, didn't the Nationals offer him $30 million a year for like 6 years?
They offered him big money.
And he said no? How could you give him big money? The guy hits 240. He's going to be worse than Stanton.
And he's a guy who plays hard. He gets hurt. So I think I don't know how much better than Stanton he is. Stanton's a good player.
Stanton's strikes out. He hits 250.
Well, you're right. You made the
Okay.
point before that the thing that makes the Red Sox and the Astros stronger than the Yankees is they hit the ball. They don't strike out all the time. And the Yankees have got a bunch of guys who really do strike out a lot.
And they don't move back runners along. I mean, I watch the Red Sox and I watch the Yankees. It's night and day between the excitement. The Yankees hit more home runs, but they're not an exciting team. They got to get someone. The leadoff batter hits 250. The number 2 hitter strikes out 200 times. He walks a lot. Judge. I love Judge. I think Judge is going to be great, and he's going to get better and better because he has a good eye. Stanton doesn't have a good eye. And he has a stupid stance, too. I mean, I think they're going to get stuck with Stanton. I think he's going to hit between 30 and 40 homers.
I mean, it's hard to imagine
Strike out 200 times.
It's hard to imagine Judge not being a top 5 MVP candidate every year. I mean, if he's healthy, 40 homers, 120 RBIs, terrific defender. I mean,
He's
a nice guy. Nice guy.
And he's going to get better and better. You can see it in him because he knows the strike zone. That's important. Stanton swings at a lot of balls. I just don't like Stanton.
Yeah, I don't. When Judge comes up, you feel like he can just stick the bat out and hit a home run to right field. Stanton, I feel like you can get him out if you can keep the ball up.
Stanton's good as a 5th or 6th hitter. You're paying him $27 million a year, but the Yankees are paying him $23. Florida's paying him $4 for the rest, which isn't too bad. Now, it's not going to be bad in a couple of years because he's still going to be young.
Well, what cost the Yankees, they thought they were buying something when they got Ellsbury, and they ended up getting nothing. So, I mean, he was just too hurt, and then you get older. And
he is a baby.
And his principal asset is speed, and that starts to go away when you get older.
But the Yankees need a leadoff batter. They lost, what's his name, the guy to get from Pittsburgh, is it McCutcheon?
Yeah.
They lost him. He signed with another team. What are they going to they're going to have Gardner leading off next year, hitting 250? You got to get a guy who can, maybe Torres.
Yeah, I was thinking
bring
Torres.
Him to the top. He'll hit around 300. Move Gardner down towards the end of the order.
Well, it should be a good race in the AL East between the Red Sox and the Yankees. The Astros are the dominant team in the Central, and in the West. Never makes sense that Houston's
Cleveland
in the
will
West.
still be the strong there. Minnesota, you think Minnesota maybe?
I don't think anybody's good in the Central
No.
Division. Cleveland just seems totally willing to go into the toilet. I just don't see draft choices as being worth that much in baseball. So, anyway, we'll be right back. Thought we'd switch gears and talk a little bit about high school sports. We've seen the girls team play, and they were dominant against Stoneham in a Freedom Division game. Stoneham's coached by former Melrose great Lindley Diamato, who does a really good job. She's got a really young team, and they're pretty inexperienced right now, and Melrose really did a number on them. It wasn't just one player. Sam Dewey was strong in the middle. Lily Cunningham had an excellent first half. And Sam Smith had an outstanding third quarter where she had 8 points. Melrose used a trapping 2-3 zone where they would trap the wings and rotate over, and they got a lot of steals on that. Some of it was because of their abilities, and some of it was Stoneham just didn't really have a good concept of how to attack the zone, at least in that game. So I think that Melrose has got a lot of experience with 4 seniors starting. They have, or 4 seniors getting a lot of play time. Obviously, sophomore center Sam Dewey's an elite player and potentially a high caliber college player someday. And you have some relatively experienced players who are going to get a lot of minutes, like Mary Kate Mahoney. So I think Melrose will be good. They've got some big games coming up. They play Woburn very soon. Woburn's extremely well coached and beat Melrose last year. So that'll be a good yardstick for where they are.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Woburn game. Woburn's, it's tomorrow night,
Right.
Tuesday, and I think Melrose is going to beat them. I think they're going to make a statement with the Woburn game. Last year they came back. Woburn had like a 20-point lead early. Melrose came back, closed the gap, almost won that game, and I think they're ready. I mean, I'm really high on them. My prediction before the season was that they're going to go anywhere from 18-2 to 20-0, going into the tournament. And the Woburn game is going to be huge. Then they go up in their first game and beat Arlington by 3. Arlington has talent, though. I remember seeing some of those young, back a couple of years ago, the guys who were very young, talented players. And then, so it kind of, when I saw that score, I didn't see the game, 3 points. I said, that doesn't, I thought Melrose was going to be pounding some of these teams. But then Arlington played Woburn, and Woburn just beat Arlington, too, by like 6. So Arlington's a good team. I think Melrose will get better and better as the year goes on, but it's going to be a great game.
Well, I think early
Woburn.
in the year, especially, they've had limited time to work on certain things. We're not a practice, so I don't know how much teams have worked on offensive and defensive delay game, which is really critical, as well as extensive shooting practice.
Yeah, the thing that with Woburn is Woburn's going to change defenses against them. They'll take it to Melrose, and Melrose is going to have to perform at a high level, but I'm really looking forward to seeing that. I want to just see how much better they are on understanding the game this year, especially with the 4 seniors and how they handle it. But I was really impressed with the way they handled Pentucket last year, and things got away from them at the end.
Well, I think there's a lot of things when you look at a team, offensively you want to say, where do they want to score from? What type of shots do they want to get? Defensively, what sort of shots are they going to give up? Now, there aren't many teams that are good 3-point shooting teams in high school, so you make a decision on that. Maybe there's 1 or 2 players that you have to focus on. What I would like to see is when the ball is arriving at a spot defensively, are the home colors getting close to that, getting to the ball almost at the same time that the ball arrives at the recipient. So if you're seeing that, then you know that the defense is reacting quickly and the offense is not going to be able to get good looks so they can make better decisions on where to get their shots. Now, against Stoneham, if you said to me, what was Stoneham trying to accomplish, I don't really know. And whereas if you look at Melrose, they moved the ball around the perimeter. They ran some high pick and rolls in the middle with Sam Dewey, and they tried to get the bigs the ball in the lane where they could do some damage. So I can see what they're trying to accomplish. Doesn't always work because if you have good ball pressure, you are able to limit what the offense wants to do.
Yeah, and what else you look at too is, talent-wise, they're talented.
Mm-hmm.
But are they going to be able to make adjustments? Are they going to be knowledgeable enough to know, okay, we got to do this. This girl here, we got to watch out for this girl. We got to shut it down. I think they are, again, after the way they played against Pentucket. But that's what it comes down to, really understanding the game, and having that mental
Yeah,
approach.
Pentucket is exceptionally well coached, so they took advantage of Melrose a few times on what are called Iverson cuts. They ran some specialty plays like flex, and Melrose didn't do as good a job as I'm sure they would have liked to defending those plays. And because when good teams match up, it's probably going to be a few possessions that determine the games. So you got to be able to, maximize those possessions. Now Sam was terrific against Pentucket. She was the best player
on the floor.
Yeah.
And McDonald was one of the bbest players, and Lily Cunningham was one of the best players. They all handled Pentucket well, the three of them.
Right.
So that's what really impressed me. That's why I think they're going to they have a good shot of going to the Garden this year because of that game. But, like the game against Woburn now, you've got to know your matchups. Now, if Woburn has that center back that they had last year that ended up getting in foul trouble, knowledgeable player, stocky player, not as tall as Sam, but physical, understands the game, was always between Sam and the basket in that game, got in foul trouble, and that's how Melrose came back.
Well,
if they can handle her, they get it 2 early fouls because they get the ball down to Sam, she's going to get in foul trouble if she tries to stop
Well, you need
her.
really good guard play in high school basketball. And Woburn has a good guard in Pacheco. She's the player who would always go up against Mary Kate. And she knows how to play, smart players, got good ability. So I think it'll be a really interesting game. Now, turning to the Celtics, they kind of got off to a mediocre start, 10-10. And then, as we said, they cleaned up against some bad teams before they ran out of gas against Detroit, didn't have anything really in the tank, and just played a bad game.
Well, that was their third game in 4 nights, and Detroit had 4 days off. They had lost 6 in a row. But the Celtics, you talk about mental toughness, they didn't have any mental toughness in that game. The only one that had it was Kyrie in the first half. Second half, it started getting to him. The guy that I'm really disappointed in this year, well, Brown, number one. But I've never been a big fan of Brown. I just think his mental understanding of the game, it's going to take him a little while. And he gets down, he pouts because now he's not starting, which he shouldn't be. But he played a couple of real good games when he coming off the bench, when he came back from injury. But then last game, he wasn't even like he wanted to be out there.
For him, he has to understand they want him to be a slasher, to take the ball to the basket, get some layups, get fouls. And not only that, when you slash to the basket, you draw other defenders, and that's going to open up the three-point shooters. The Celtics have moved up to 6th in the NBA in three-point shooting, which I was surprised because they were way down. I guess the winning streak really brought their offensive numbers up. And they're shooting 36.3 from three-point land, that's the equivalent of 54.4 or 5 on two-point shots. So if you can make 54% of your shots, you're going to be a winning team. And I know you want to talk more about who you're disappointed in.
No, but I mean, like Brown, right? I was saying that, with people that watch the game saying he's got to get the ball to the rim more, pull up jump shots in the lane, get to the foul line, you get fouled more. By doing that, you get the other team in foul trouble. It's not only him. Kyrie can go to the basket, Tatum can go to the basket, Hayward can go to the basket, Rozier can go to the basket. Then shoot the three-point shots with Morris. And the other guys, after you penetrate and dish if they're going to collapse. That's when you take your threes. You don't dribble down the court and take a three. Take it within the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. Like Brown one day took 7 3-pointers, hit 1.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's not many guys that shoot threes well off the dribble. Everybody who follows basketball knows that catch and shoot is the name of the game in NBA. I'll give you an example. When Klay Thompson got his 60 points, he had 11 dribbles in the whole game to get 60 points. Catch, shoot, three, bang. And he's also good at cutting to the basket and getting passes for layups. But even Golden State has 9 losses.
Who do you think are the top 4 players in the Celtics right now so far playing?
Well, Kyrie is 1. 2 is Morris. Morris has really been a revelation this year. 3, still probably Tatum, although he hasn't been as consistent. And 4 is really hard on 4. You know,
You really don't have one.
No, you don't have one because Hayward hasn't been great. Smart's been better lately. Smart's problem is he wants to shoot the three too much. He's really not a good shooter. He's a good pick and roll guy. He's a good passer. He's an outstanding defender. I mean, pound for pound, he's as tough as a guy as there is in the league.
Yeah, every once in a while you see Hayward play, you say he's coming now, then the next game, like last game, I don't know if he had one of those games off, two of those, because he
Well,
won
I think
it.
that what happened is Hayward is still a little reluctant to take the ball to the basket with authority, and especially when you're going up against Drummond and Blake Griffin, you know you're going to get hit. And you're not just, I mean, when we say hit is being kind.
But there's games he's looked great. You know, that
Yeah.
30-point game, the 19-point game that he had, you know, he's not taking that many shots, but it's going to come. It's going
Right.
to come. But the player that's really disappointing me and the player I love,
Rozier?
no, Tatum.
Oh.
I'm very disappointed. I think the worst thing that happened to him was that he spent the summer with Kobe. That was the worst thing that happened to him. Kobe built him up, said, you got to shoot, you got to do this. He's playing no defense, Ron. He is absolutely horrible at defense. I think I watch his actions out there, and I say to myself, this guy's a cocky player. You know, I think he's too cocky. He like walks down, you know, standing tall, you know, down the court. When something happens, they say, oh, that's his mannerisms. He's calm, but I think he's cocky, and I think Kobe didn't help him at all.
Great offense is multiple actions, whether it's pick and roll, give and go, you know, fake and drive, whatever. Whereas great defense is multiple efforts. And if you're not totally into it, Jabari Parker is getting paid $20 million a year, and he said, I don't have to play defense. You don't get paid to play defense.
Now he's sitting.
Yeah, right. So $20 million to sit. You know.
But I mean, Tatum, you watch Tatum, he's got to play better defense. He's always out of position. He's stupid fouls. He never steps in on anybody. You know, I'm really getting disappointed in him. Offensively, he's doing okay. He's doing okay, but I don't know. I think it's in his head now. He thinks he's better than he is. I don't like that in the player. He was my favorite player last year, but he's got to start playing some D.
Well, give a good example. First play down last game against Detroit, we talked about how important it is being able to switch. Well, what happened is the Detroit point guard screened across for Drummond, and so you have the Celtics switch, so you get Kyrie on Drummond, and you know what happens then.
They switch on everything, I told you.
Yeah, you can't.
They switch when they don't have to switch.
Yeah, you switch 1-5 in the NBA, the size differential is just phenomenal. Now, just want to change gears a little bit. When people say, oh, LeBron James isn't this, he isn't that, he doesn't make that big a difference. Okay, well, in Cleveland's tenure with Dan Gilbert as owner, in non-LeBron years, Cleveland wins 30% of the games. And LeBron goes there, they go to the finals, or they win the championship. LeBron goes to LA. LA's bad team last year, bad team. Now they're fourth in the Western Conference, which is pretty good, because LeBron is that great. He's amazing. I mean, he doesn't have great talent around him. Ball's all right, Kuzma's all right, but LeBron really is a force of nature.
He's the fifth best player to ever play the game, LeBron. When you really look at it, in all the years of basketball, there's just four players you put ahead of him. Russell, number one. Chamberlain, number two. Jordan, number three. Jabbar, number four. And then it's LeBron. You know, and then you go with Bird and Magic and Kobe, wherever you want to put them.
Well, the younger generation devalues Russell. You know, they're at the point now where they say Russell's...
That's because they're ignorant to, you know, that type of basketball.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that you got to see over a long period of time that, you know, a guy like people say like, well, Willis Reed, what was he? Well, Willis Reed was a heck of a player. I mean, he got the Knicks to a championship, played hurt, big physical player, a guy who gets less credit than he deserves.
What do you mean the younger generation? They don't think Russell?
Anybody under 40 is like
They're
Russell.
idiots then, Ron.
Well, they're
idiots. Have they seen him even play?
You know, I think they just say, oh, everybody in that generation was slow. They'll say like, a guy like Havlicek is slow. He couldn't play anymore today.
Havlicek would be unbelievable in the NBA. Now, he'd be running people crazy.
Well, that's because the effort
He didn't
level,
stop running.
right, the effort level was so high. And aside from that, the physical play back then was, I mean, much higher than it is now.
And Havlicek played against Oscar Robertson. He played against Jerry West. Are you kidding me? He played against two of the top 10 players in basketball. And you move Jerry West and Oscar Robertson in there.
And Baylor was a phenomenal player as well for the Lakers back then. So people just don't get, people forget about Robertson averaging a triple-double over a season. And now they say, well, look, Westbrook might do that for 2 years in a row. Well, okay, it's a different game now.
Bill Russell, 2 college championships. He won the Olympics, right? Best player in college those years, best player in the Olympics. Won how many 11 championships? 11 championships.
Yeah, in 15 years, Russell won 14 championships.
I mean, anybody who says, Russell's got to be way above everybody else.
Well, that's what I always say when they say, who belongs on basketball's Mount Rushmore? Jordan, LeBron, Chamberlain, Jabbar. And they say, well, where's Russell? I say, well, Russell doesn't belong on Mount Rushmore. Russell belongs on Mount Olympus.
That's right.
So it's interesting in the basketball community. I hear a lot more people talking about team building, and they'll talk about Jerry West and the franchises he's built. But now, there's a lot more credit being given to Auerbach now because they realize what he did over a long period of time with multiple guys. The old story about him going to Florida State to look at Cowens, and he goes in and he sits watches a quarter and leaves, and he's kind of disgusted. He acts disgusted when he's leaving, and that one worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, but you get back to Russell just for a minute. You watch Williams block shots, right? Williams blocks shots and they go out of bounds, and everybody's giving him a high five because he just whacked the ball out of bounds, up in the stands. Russell used to not only block the shots, but control the ball. He never blocked a shot out of bounds. He got up there, he blocked the shot, and controlled the ball.
Yeah, I'm sure Russell would say, what's the point in knocking it into the 6th row? It's still the other team's ball.
And these young kids and these fans go crazy over someone whacking the ball off someone's head or whatever. And, I mean, he was an artist, Russell.
Right. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's a team sport. It's about winning. Maybe Jordan would have had as many titles as Russell. I mean, he lost time with, I will speculate that it was a gambling suspension. Nobody knows. I mean, why would he go play baseball? Come on. But, it doesn't diminish either player's greatness to recognize the greatness of another player. Do we have any final comments here?
Well, Merry Christmas. This is our last show.
Yeah, last show of the year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to everyone else. I've enjoyed seeing you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And Merry Christmas to our #1 fan, Mike Mahoney. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ralph Labella.